Motivation is everything. I actually believe motivation trumps knowledge. I don't know how to do anything the first time I go out to do it. And that is entrepreneurship at its best. It really is that simple. It's like, what's entrepreneurship? Doing something even if you don't know how to do it, right? And just trusting you're going to figure out in near real time, like just-in-time learning so that nobody catches you. That is entrepreneurship. And the best example I can give you is, and why motivation plays a factor is because I really believe if you burn the boats, if you have that motivation, it doesn't matter how challenging that problem or that thing is, you're going to get through it. And day one of starting Spirit, because I'd save all that money, I hired the 2 smartest guys that worked at that company I worked with before. And I said, we need a third. Do you know anybody? And they said, yeah, this guy Andrew. And I'm like, cool, is he smart? And they go, he's smarter than us. And I was like, money, right? This is great. Give him a job. Let me talk to him. So we had lunch, and I got to know him, and I said, great, I want to give you a job. Here's the pay scale. And he's like, wow, this is really awesome. I'd love to do this. So, like a week later, I give Andrew a call. I said, hey, I got to stop by with all this HR paperwork. You got to sign, et cetera. Where do you live? I'll come to your house. And he's like, cool. He gives me his address. I jump in my car, and I drive over. And I remember I'm like walking up to the front door, knocking on the door, and all of a sudden, there's like this 2.5, 3-year-old little blonde girl that answers the door. And I was 24 at the time, and the other guys were like 23, and I assumed Andrew was like 22, 23. And this little girl answers the door, and she goes, Daddy. I was like, oh. Andrew comes, and he's like, hey, meet my daughter, Araya. And I was like, you have a daughter? He's like, yeah, I want you to meet my wife, Jill. And he points up to the, opens the door, points upstairs, and here's this woman that's pregnant, 7 months. I was like, holy cow. And I realized that that moment, even though I thought this is really interesting and I hope it does well, often wrong, never in doubt kind of thing, I was highly motivated to not screw it up. And nothing hit me clearer than 2 months later when I almost went bankrupt. Because I didn't know about a thing called cash flow. We had customers, we were working, everything was great, but by the time that I paid for all the hardware, sent people to work with clients, and then finally invoiced them, even better, them deciding, we had customers like Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnson, them deciding that they would pay us. The worst part was when the Canadian bank got a check from a US firm and we were a new company and they said, we have to freeze this check for 20 business days. And I'm looking at my bank account and payroll and thinking, here I go, I screwed up and I'm only 2 months into it. And nothing, I think if I didn't have the motivation of being responsible to Andrew, the other guys would have been fine. I would have been fine. I may have not gone a step further. And I did whatever I thought I could do, and I started calling people, and I say, here's my problem, what do you think? And they go, actually, Dan, it's a real simple solution. You can factor your receivables. What's that? Sounds interesting. It's kind of cool, factoring. Factoring, I'm running out of money, right? It's like, and it turns out you can actually sell your receivables for 10 or 15% less than they're worth to get the money today. It's like a business payday loan. It's kind of cool. So anyways, I ended up getting the money, making payroll, and to this day, those guys never knew. That is the job of an entrepreneur, is to lead people into battle and not tell them how scared you are or how bad it's going to be. And I really believe that if you can figure out your motivation for why you're to do this, or if you can create some kind of commitment to somebody else, to some external person, you're going to stay in battle when most people would give up. And I truly believe motivation is more important than knowledge.